conspiracy theorists, which was absurd. I said, fine, it's reality. Then you have to talk about Roosevelt creating Pearl Harbor. And I said, of course Roosevelt had to stand down Pearl Harbor. It's the same thing with Obama. The minute he talks about his conspiracy theory or silliness or whatever he wants to say, then what happens is it repercusses back to him, and it opens up his own narcissistic vulnerability, which is a fancy way of saying, listen, the more you pump yourself up, stupid, the more you're going to be vulnerable to the American public asking questions of what did you do in Chicago when you were growing up? While you were married, before you're married, before you were educated, what kind of education did you really have? Let's look at really what you did, because the more stupid things you say and you do to the American public, the more vulnerable you become. And go ask Axelrod, who's not the brightest guy in the world, and ask your own heads of national intelligence who remain there because they get pensions and they get double pensions. These are not the same guys from the 90s and 80s worked for Bush and Reagan, who really sacrificed their lives. These are guys who earn their pensions, remain there, and really have never been in the outside world. So I want this president to keep on attacking me and you and the American public, to come out with more and more stupidity, because underneath it all, he's not just a liar. He knows he's a sociopath. He knows it from the day he was born he's a sociopath. You don't get to be president of the United States unless you want to manipulate, deceive, and lie. But this is not a man who's basically all that bright. In the same way Condoleezza was not very bright. We know Bush Jr. was stupid. Clinton was very bright, but he's a bright liar. This man is not even a bright liar. It would do well for him to go to Clinton to understand how to lie convincingly. But this president is getting stupider and stupider. In fact, when he's trying to promote himself at a time when he's so weak and he can't really get out of the notion of the birther issue, out of the notion that we have a police state where we have TSA. Now, what in God's name are TSA people doing, putting their hands in your crotch, feeling you off, delaying everything, and making believe that they caught any terrorist? There is no terrorist that they could find. Furthermore, if they want to look at anything, why don't you look at the harbors? Why don't you look at overseas and really look at what you're looking at? The only terrorist we had is Chertoff, who started all of this nonsense with the TSA because he owns a lot of the machinery, and the neocons who are still around trying to promote American supremacy. And we have a president who is so pathetically inept. He knows that. He knows that guys like me cannot be convinced, because I didn't buy him when I heard from congressmen that Hillary Clinton couldn't lie or run. You know why? Because Bill Clinton was still screwing around. He was still screwing around. So I was asked by a congressman who I will not identify why Hillary Clinton will not be able to win the presidency. And I said, Bill Clinton will never allow Hillary Clinton to win the presidency because he's screwing around. So you had a man out of nowhere who came out of nowhere, Chicago, with a ballet dancer who was his right-hand man, Rami Emanuel, who really was a totally dysfunctional ballet dancer. And it came to the forefront. He said he was a very powerful man and intimidated. He didn't intimidate anybody. One senator said very convincingly, I wish he were more of a knee breaker than a ballet dancer. He gave away $80 billion in pharmaceutical grants to the pharmacy in order to pass Obamacare.
Stay there, sir. Yeah, it was written by the insurance companies. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, unbelievable information. Let's get into solutions when we come back.
You've heard Alex explain how the Silver Lungs generator infuses the respiratory system with your self-produced colloidal silver solutions, yet many are unaware of the entire function of the Silver Lungs system and how it has been designed to deliver your silver solutions anywhere in or on the body. My name is Mario Cifaldi, and I'm the developer of the Silver Lungs generator. Not only does the Silver Lungs system produce endless colloidal and ionic silver solutions, it also comes equipped with the proper applicators and devices needed to deliver your silver solutions directly to key target areas. This includes the eyes, ears, nose, lungs, topically to the skin, and orally for the digestive system. Be sure to watch our new 7-minute video tour of the Silver Lungs system at www.silverlungs.com to learn more about how the Silver Lungs system works. As well, we are always ready to answer any questions you may have. That's www.silverlungs.com.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now, new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup, insurance, and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365. Diamond Gusset is proud to announce the anthem of the Patriot movement. They're offering a free CD, T-shirt, and bumper sticker with a qualifying purchase. Diamond Gusset offers great products at great prices while keeping Americans working.
I'm looking for a factory where a man can feed his family. Not worried about them moving it south, closing the doors and shutting her down tomorrow. I'm looking for America.
We're American and be proud. Go to gusset.com/America.
The land of the free and the home of the brave. Seems like I just woke up one day and it was gone, long gone. But I know in my heart it's still
Again, go to gusset.com/America today.
Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Right now, there are literally hundreds of articles coming out. I'm scanning over the headlines. The Atlantic that attacked me yesterday saying I was a kook for questioning the Bin Laden kill. Now their editor comes out with the slippery story of the Bin Laden kill. Drudge has it linked up at Drudge Report. And it just goes through the fact that people are not buying it. 7 out of 10 calls. I actually was sitting there driving in my car with a piece of paper doing the 4 lines and the 5th line through it, counting. 7 out of 10 callers, national, local, are not buying it. A complete rout has begun. Dr. Pieczenik, for those that just joined us, is the Jack Ryan, of course, of the Patriot Games, that character from the books of Tom Clancy, really spy master, overthrowing governments, running assassinations, you name it, working in 5 administrations. Sir, what do you make of the fact that this is starting to blow up in their face? Is there any danger in them now trying to pull some even more ridiculous rabbit out of a hat? How could this escalate?
Well, this can escalate very quickly by what you saw. That, in fact, we're going to increase our terrorist watch. We're going to suppress the American public more. We're going to have more security. But, in fact, I have more faith in our military, particularly the Army, than I do in our civilian government. I have faith in men like General Petraeus, other generals who I will not mention, where the Army will not tolerate this type of behavior by civilians who are really inept. And really what's happening is the quicker that General Petraeus gets into the CIA and is able to take control of this so-called intelligence apparatus, which really has not been functional. As I told you, 850,000 of these intel boys in counterterrorism have top secret. They're all making money. It's become a big business. One of my close general friends said to me, the greatest weapon of mass destruction is these centers for counterterrorism. Think of that. The centers for counterterrorism are the greatest dangers of that. So I'm not as afraid because the American public is going to resist it. They're going to say, F you, fire up. And they should stand up and say, that's enough. We don't have the attacks. The attacks did not occur for 30 years. It only occurred after Bush and Cheney created an attack in 9/11, and then they made it this absurd psyops that said since 9/11 we haven't had an attack. Yeah, we've had attacks. We've had attacks by basically a security force that never existed, the TSA, for Homeland Security, which is a misnomer, run by a woman from Arizona who barely could run Arizona and her own border. And now you have incompetency on steroids. So what you really have to do now is to watch our own military say, in effect, quietly, cease and desist to our civilians. I know Obama cannot handle our military. I know, in fact, that Obama is surrounded by sycophants from Chicago, all of whom are ex-Chicago, convicts, pre-convicts, ex-convicts with questionable histories. You know what it does? I'm very happy when he attacks me or you because it opens up Daley, his brothers. It opens up exactly what they did in Chicago. And quite frankly, they're messing with the wrong guy. They really don't understand. I'm not that special. I'm just another American who will not tolerate the BS of an organization that's corrupt, deceptive, and at the same time, what they're going to do is they're going to ramp up their ineffectualness and dysfunctionalism. What happens, in effect, if you're not good at telling a lie, you're not going to be good at reversing that lie because you're going to be continuously unthreading these lies by saying, well, that's not the picture. I mean, it's absurd. It becomes so comical that Obama becomes nothing more than an iconic picture of stupidity, incompetence, dysfunctionalism, and self-aggrandizement, which is really what's happening. And he knows that, and he's getting very pissed off every time I'm saying that because it's going right into the White House, and he knows guys like me who've been to the schools that he's been to, and then some, will not tolerate the nonsense he came forth with and made believe that he was that important, that smart. He is not that important. He's not that smart. He's really quite incompetent and has never accomplished anything in his life. So I want the mechanics, the truck drivers, the doctors, every one of us to stand up and say, we've had enough. And I want us to go after Mr. John Yoo, who went in the front page of the New York Times, the man who wrote, a South Korean naturalized in America, who wrote the Patriots Act 5 weeks before we had 9/11 and wrote in the memorandum that we should have torture of our terrorists, so-called terrorists, Mr. Yoo, who I attacked on September 12th because I already picked up what he had done. He was unpatriotic, un-American. He has criminal charges against him. He's at the University of Berkeley, and I want the students at Berkeley to protest his presence and refuse to accept the legal degree because he's a lawyer there who's tenured at University of Berkeley, a liberal school run by the Chancellor Robert Bourgeneau, a Canadian who'd been at MIT for 25 years. This is the beginning of the unraveling and counterbalancing what was happening in 9/11 and the absurdity. John, you came on the front page of the New York Times and said, we are justified in the Bush administration for torturing. Well, John Yoo should be tortured and should be put in prison so that he understands what happened. I want your public to go in and see John Yoo, Y-O-O, and see how many charges have been pressed against him and how now the University of Berkeley, the great liberal school in California at Berkeley, has retained him as a tenured professor, and I want the chancellor to fire him. And if the chancellor doesn't, I would like Jerry Brown, the governor, to fire the chancellor because there's no excuse.
All right, I want to go further, though.
The day of retribution comes back 9 years later, my friend.
Well, doctor, they're obviously scared. I mean, a bunch of the torturers went to prison, but then Bush wrote a book last year saying he ordered torture. He'd do it again. Rumsfeld's out promoting it. They're trying to resuscitate torture, lying and saying that torture, enhanced interrogation, rough interrogation, as they Orwellian whitewash it, led to the killing of Bin Laden. Then the White House comes out and says, actually, torture didn't lead to this. KSM, of course, confessed to bombing buildings that were built after he was already captured and spent, many years of torture and mind control at Gitmo. So expanding on that, are they trying to resuscitate torture because if they can sell our troops on doing that, they can have an army of darkness? Or is it more about trying to not end up down the road going to prison for what they've done?
I think it's more about ending up in prison. They're too cowardly. Those people who espoused it, Bush Jr. and Cheney, who's never been in the Army. Cheney refused to serve our country 8 times. Do you know that? An alcoholic who was kicked out of Yale for alcoholism was sent to University of Wisconsin, and his wife, the great neocon, who decided to get pregnant on the 9th time. 8 times I told my general he refused to go to the Army, but he didn't have a problem sending our troops into war. And he said the Vietnam War was not my kind of war. So you're talking about the chicken hawks. These guys should be in prison, should be indicted, but more importantly, you who wrote that memorandum should be thrown out, license taken away, but more importantly, What Obama's trying to do is to cover up for Bush Jr. so that there's a story, a narrative